For almost a century, Pluto was treated like a mistake at the edge of the solar system. Too small to matter, too distant to understand, too frozen to be alive. It was discovered, celebrated as the ninth planet, printed in textbooks, placed on classroom walls, and then in 2006, stripped of its title by a vote. After that, Pluto became something between a world and a footnote, a cold leftover drifting in the dark beyond Neptune. But then James Webb looked at it, not the way New Horizons did, racing past Pluto in a single historic flyby. Webb did not give us another portrait. It gave us something stranger, a chemical fingerprint, a temperature clue, a hidden atmospheric signal, and evidence that Pluto is not simply frozen. It is active. Its haze is cooling it. Its atmosphere is leaking. Its moon is being stained by stolen gas. Its surface is covered in organic chemistry. Its mountains may be ancient cryovolcanoes. And beneath its shell, there may be a dark ocean buried under miles of frozen rock-hard ice. Pluto is not dead. It is colder than death, darker than almost anything we can imagine, and yet somehow still changing. And what Webb found out there is horrifying, because it means the far edge of the solar system is not empty. It is full of frozen worlds doing strange things in silence. Pluto was not the ending of the planetary story. It may have been the warning. When Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto in 1930, he was only 24 years old. He had no college degree. He worked night after night comparing photographic plates, searching for one tiny dot that shifted against the fixed background of stars. When he found it, the world believed it had gained a ninth planet. But for most of the next 75 years, Pluto remained almost unknowable. It was too far away to resolve clearly, too small to reveal much detail, and too strange to fit comfortably with the larger planets. Its orbit was tilted and stretched, carrying it inside Neptune's orbit for part of its journey before flinging it billions of miles farther into the cold. From Earth, Pluto was not a world. It was a point, a faint moving speck. So we filled the silence with assumptions. We imagined it as a dead ball of ice, a frozen pebble at the edge of the sun's reach, too small and too cold to be geologically interesting. Then New Horizons arrived in 2015. After 9.5 years of travel, the spacecraft flew past Pluto at incredible speed and changed everything in minutes. It revealed a heart-shaped, bright region across the surface, mountains of water ice as hard as stone, plains of nitrogen ice that seemed to flow, and a thin blue haze layered high above the dwarf planet. Pluto was not smooth. It was not simple. It was not dead. It had geology. It had an atmosphere. It had movement. It had surface features that looked shockingly young. And because New Horizons only had one fast flyby, scientists were left with a haunting question. What else did we miss? That is where James Webb entered the story. Webb could not fly back to Pluto, but it could stare at Pluto from deep space and read its light with extraordinary precision. It could detect molecules, thermal behavior, and atmospheric chemistry that no telescope before it could measure in the same way. And when Webb looked, it revealed that Pluto was not just unexpectedly active. It was stranger, colder, and more disturbing than anyone realized. The first horror of Pluto is its atmosphere. It barely has one compared with Earth. Pluto's air is incredibly thin, made mostly of nitrogen with methane and carbon monoxide mixed in. It is so faint that standing on Pluto would feel almost like standing in a vacuum. And yet that fragile atmosphere is doing something bizarre. It is wrapped in layers of haze made from complex hydrocarbon particles created when faint sunlight strikes methane high above the surface. Even at Pluto's distance, where sunlight is about 1,000 times weaker than on Earth, the chemistry does not stop. Methane breaks apart. Molecules recombine. Heavier compounds form and begin drifting downward. For years, scientists wondered what these hazes did to Pluto's atmosphere. On worlds like Titan, haze helps trap heat. But Pluto appears to work differently. Its haze is cooling the atmosphere. The particles absorb sunlight and then radiate energy away in the mid-infrared, bleeding heat into space faster than the atmosphere can replace it. In other words, Pluto's own haze is helping chill the world beneath it, a frozen planet cooling itself even further. That is almost impossible to picture. Pluto already lives in a realm of cold beyond human experience. Its surface temperatures hover hundreds of degrees below 0°F. Nitrogen becomes frost. Methane becomes ice. Carbon monoxide can fall as crystals. The gases that make Earth breathable become part of Pluto's frozen ground. And above that ground, the atmosphere is slowly manufacturing organic molecules: ethane, acetylene, ethylene, tholins. Those reddish-brown compounds fall back toward the surface like an ancient chemical snow. They coat the landscape, stain the ice, and accumulate over geological time. The disturbing part is what they resemble. Tholins belong to the same broad class of organic chemistry that scientists believe may have contributed to the early chemical pathways on Earth before life emerged. On Pluto, the raw ingredients of biology are being produced constantly, then frozen into silence before they can become anything alive. It is life's chemistry trapped in a world that is too cold to let it continue. A prebiotic nightmare preserved at the edge of the sun. Then, Webb revealed something even stranger. Pluto is leaking. Its weak music gravity cannot hold every molecule in its thin atmosphere forever. Methane and other gases drift upward, escape into space, and leave the dwarf planet behind. But they do not simply vanish. Something is catching them. Charon, Pluto's largest moon, orbits close enough to collect part of what Pluto loses. It has no thick atmosphere of its own, no blue haze, no living weather system. It is a battered ice world, locked in a gravitational dance with Pluto, always showing the same face across the emptiness between them. And yet Charon's poles are stained a deep reddish brown. For years, scientists suspected the color came from Pluto.